Truth and the Circle Around It by K.G.SCOTT, otherwise known as Rage in the Cage on YouTube. Chapter 8, Turn Up the Heat. You don't know this, Nguyen, too well, do you? Joe asked Kevin as they were taking their seats in the listening room. Come on. No, I just met him this morning. I think I pissed him off, Kevin answered. Oh, fuck, I know you pissed him off. Then Joe decided this was a good time to get Kevin talking. He had noticed something different about his young friend and wanted to find out if there was a problem now rather than later. Have you done something I haven't heard about yet? Joe asked. Well, a couple of months ago, I got jumped outside of my night job at a pub after work. At first, I figured it was just someone I had bounced because it was a full moon and I had been busy. Joe knew this would be good, but Kevin reluctantly began to tell Joe the story, but I hadn't seen them before. And once I got the first two down, I noticed they were dressed like Edmonton people, not GP people. What do you mean by Edmonton people? Joe kind of chuckled. Well, people around GP tend to be more not redneckish exactly, not behind the times, just a little simpler, Kevin tried to explain. You mean they wouldn't dress up as much to go out as a guy from a big city would? Joe offered a helping comment. Exactly. Kevin clapped his hands together and made a gesture with his hands in triumph of someone getting his point. Then, as I noticed that the one guy looked a little Italian, Kevin looked at Joe with an expression to let him know that the comment wasn't meant in a derogatory way. I noticed the other guy was pulling out a 9mm. So I grabbed it and cracked his head open with it. Joe clenched his eyes shut and shook his head back and forth as he tried not to laugh. And probably seconds later, everyone gave up. No, I pulled the clip out and rubbed it all down in my shirt, then fired it across the lot. Then two of them stood up thinking they had me, and I had to get all nasty on them. Joe bellowed, loud with laughter. He knew what Kevin meant by getting all nasty. He had witnessed it firsthand the night they met in a bar in Fort McMurray. What's this I hear about you being on the ERT team? Joe asked. Yeah, Kevin said in a way that Joe guessed he didn't want to talk about it. Anything you want to talk about? No, Kevin barked as he looked sharply at Joe. Then he realized Joe was trying to be a friend, a combination of my status as an auxiliary and, well, I don't get the fun jobs, Joe. Why? What do you mean? Joe wasn't sure he liked where the conversation was going, but he knew his young friend might be in emotional trouble. I'm the shot, Kevin said as Joe's eyes grew to be as big as saucers. I had to pull the trigger on a guy I knew. Joe's whole body slumped in his seat. His facial expression dropped and went blank as he realized what he had stumbled onto. Fort St. John? Joe asked, already knowing the answer. It was on the news. In Seattle? Kevin looked at Joe with a tone of disgust in his voice. Don't give me that fucking bullshit. You've been checking on me because of the shit we're going to be doing. Kevin, hang. Joe began, but Kevin cut him off. Fuck that, Myers. Kevin was using last names, which meant that he was pissed right off. I know fucking well that I wouldn't be on this crappy fucking duty if they didn't need my... He held up his hands to do quotation signs. Useful talents. Do you want out? Joe was ready to pull rank, and his tone said it without him saying the words. Kevin let out a huge sigh, then dropped his head and shook it no. I couldn't get out if I wanted to. I think you do want out, Joe said with a bit softer tone. Yeah, well, I can't get out. He lifted his head and looked at Joe with tears welling up in his eyes, but not yet falling. Kid, Joe began with a mature, sincere, yet sympathetic tone. I can see the look in your eyes. You didn't sign up for this. You want to be out there helping people. Yes, Kevin cut in. Joe continued, undaunted. You want to make a difference? Give the innocent people a chance? That's very correct, Kevin said. But I just want to be a regular cop, which I can't be if. Joe took a turn to cut in. You are. The two men looked deep into each other's eyes as if they could see the very fabric of the soul. Whether you're stopping a speeder, taking out a shooter, beating up a thug, helping some little old lady get her cat out of a tree, or chasing a dirty bastard like these pricks, you are making a difference. You are helping someone. No, Joe, as it happens, I don't get very many chances at those things. I'm always being sent undercover or sent to do some dirty work or. Right then, the lights came on in the interrogation room. Kevin used his shirt collar to soak up the tears and quickly gained his composure. It was time to get down to business. A couple of uniformed cops brought the teenagers in and stood against the wall behind them. A minute later, Bob peeked his head in and handed Joe a small box on the end of a long black cable. If either of you have anything you want to add or ask, just push the green button and speak into the mic, Bob said, then left and walked around to the entrance of the questioning room. Do you want to chat later, Kevin? Joe asked. We'll see. Right now, it's time to find out why these two love Bob so much, Kevin said, hoping to avoid talking about the incident again. Their conversation would never be finished, though. Kevin just didn't want to put more salt on the wounds. Everything went very smoothly for the next 3 months. Derek, Scott McMaster, and Tom Bruce Bales were making friends at their new jobs. Bob and Joe were sorting all the info they had gathered at F.K. Clark, went on his first long vacation in 5 years. Kelly was back at work and Tony was doing really well. Tony had been taken immediately to Edmonton by air ambulance the day of the shooting, then sent back to Red Deer for physiotherapy. The two had become close after all the hours together at physiotherapy, and Kelly was relieved to finally have a friend at work. Curly, Carla, and Wendy had moved into a new place in a nicer area of the city. The girls weren't asking about Daddy as much anymore because Brock and Delfino were having a blast being mean to Willie. He liked all the cool shit, such as playing with guns and explosives and learning how to drive effectively and fast, just like the cops. But the running and working out didn't make any sense. You shouldn't have anyone to run away from if you just kill everyone. Why the fuck do I need geography lessons? Winnipeg can't be any different than Edmonton or Vancouver, Willie bellowed as he jumped and danced around the rumpus room of Brock's studio apartment. I can't find my way around downtown Vancouver. I can find my way around downtown Vancouver. Just fucking perfect. So I think I can get to Portage in Maine from the Trans-Canada fucking highway. Delfino, Portage is the Trans-Canada. Oh, Willie, oh, wonderful. See? Willie said as he stood up like a proud rooster and gave the finger to the map on the easel. Where do you go after you set the timer at the courthouse? Brock asked Willie as he rolled his eyes and shook his head. Willie began to dance around some more. I've just won the Stanley Cup, so I'm going to Disney World. Woohoo! The two men can't help but chuckle, but they must keep their student in control, so it's time to push the button on the remote and cause the shock harness they have locked on their prodigy to give him a little. Zap. Ouch. Fucking shit, you rotten pricks. Fuck. Okay. I go to the 7-Eleven down the street and park so I have a good view of the courthouse and can get away in a hurry. Then when the bomb goes off, I shoot the tires out on the next transit bus that goes by and get the fuck out of there. Willie rambles off the instructions excitedly. Okay, you can have a beer now, Brock says. What are you doing? Delfino says surprisingly to his partner. Don't worry about it, kid. He looks at Delfino and winks. Go get a cold one and have a swig. Yeah, fucking A, Batman. Willie beams and almost runs to the fridge. He grabs a cold beer and pops off the cap with a Bic lighter. Then he starts to guzzle. It's the first one he's had in 2 days, so he's going to make sure he gets it all in. He reaches in the fridge to grab another one while he's still got the first one tilted high up in the air. Willie, glug, 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 glug. Zap. Well, you get the idea. Poor Willie is choking, yelling, coughing, and convulsing all at once. Brock and Delfino are out of control, howling at laughter, and almost rolling off the sofa. The victimized Willie has dropped to one knee, dropped the bottles, and banged his right eye socket on the table. He's on the floor now, still choking and heaving with beer running out of his nose, and he's very interesting shade of, well, kind of greenish purple, as if it wasn't enough. Zap, 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 zap. Brock dropped the remote and Delfino doesn't realize he's kneeling on it. The carnage continues as Willie is now doing the funky chicken in a pool of split beer and broken glass. Zap, 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 zap. The two men are now folded up like lawn chairs on the floor. Brock sees the knee on the button and looks quickly over at the still gyrating victim and then pushes Delfino over with a body check. A couple of minutes go by as Willie tries to return to the world so he can retaliate, and Brock and Delfino can finally recover from laughing so hard. They have aching muscles in their abdomens. Cough, cough. Somebody cough. I'm not coughing. Willie is almost able to breathe. I'm gonna rip your fucking toes off, you slimy cocksuckers. The two men are laughing so hard they can't even respond. They don't have much to worry about for the moment because just as Willie takes a big leap to get up and run towards them, zap, 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 zap. Delfino once again rolls over top of the button from hell, and poor Willie staggers, stumbles, and slams his forehead bang on dead center into the corner of an unforgiving oak end table. Enter Alvarez. He was going to knock first, but hears the commotion and wonders if he's coming to a training session or a rescue. He walks in to find a mixture of both, shakes his head with a confused chuckle, and walks into the middle of the room. I do hope you won't let him bleed to death, Alvarez muses, although I'm quite sure he may want someone else to patch his wounds this time. Brock has managed to lean back against his lazy boy, and while still laughing, says to Alvarez, I think he needs to go see Doc Tuan. I think he should go to work for Canadian Tire. He could get a job as a battery charger, Delfino says through a volley of laughter. The culprits of torture catch each other's eyes as they roll around on the floor, laughing their asses off. R-O-F-L-A-O. R-O-F-L-A-O, Alvarez says, rolling on floor, laughing ass off. Willie, my boy, are you at all conscious? Willie lets out a dull, powerless groan, and his eyes open to little more than a squint. Do try to clean him up. Do try to clean him up a bit. I'll go get Henderson. Meet us downstairs, Alvarez orders, calmly as he strolls out the door. 0842, January 15, 1989. The next day, Alvarez and Henderson got into a Pontiac Bonneville SSE outside the hotel they were staying in. As they started down the street and onto Highway 17, 4 other cars began to move as well. Only one stayed with the Pontiac. holding back about 50 yards. The traffic was light enough to ensure good movement, yet heavy enough to provide places to hide. In Unit 1, the brown Chevrolet Impala behind Alvarez was RCMP Constable. Hello. Oh, it was a real flood. Okay. Hey, you never know. In Unit 1, the brown Chevrolet Impala behind Alvarez was RCMP Constable Stu Hill and FBI Special Agent George DuPont. One block over to the left in Unit 2, a gray Ford Taurus was Constable Ray Oliver and Special Agent Stanley Burton. A block to the right was Unit 3, a green Pontiac Grand Am, with Corporal Harold Tillman and Special Agent Martin King behind that. A blue Camaro, with Corporal Dave Porter and Special Agent Jack O. Quinlan. This was the team assigned to follow the Alvarez gang and apprehend him. They had information that he would be meeting with a senior member of an East Indian organization in Burnaby. They were sure this would be either to carry out a contract or to make one. The four cars would run a standard following pattern unless something happened. In that case, they would effect a crisscross interception pattern and call in the local police for marked escort. George, suspect vehicle turning right onto Highway 17. The other units called in to confirm. Jack, Unit 4 turning onto highway at Manchester. Unit 1, we're right behind you. You can turn off now. All of all of the sudden, the Pontiac slowed down. A red Ford Bronco pulled up beside the two police cars moving at high speed. As it passed by, a hail of automatic gunfire ripped into the front car with Hill and DuPont in it. Then, as Porter and O. Quinlan ducked below their dash, every window in their car disintegrated. The front car with Hill and DuPont's now dead bodies kept going down the lane, Cybertruck, drifting slowly, gradually as it began to go up a slight hill in the road. Porter was driving the second car, which had also drifted for a few seconds, while the two officers had ducked down. Now, as he looked up slightly over the dash, all he saw was the police car in front of him, with blood on the inside of the back window and smoke rolling out the side windows. It's a jungle out there. Henderson, in the meantime, had floored the Pontiac and turned hard and fast to the left at the next intersection. The Bronco continued down the highway, but a dark yellow pickup pulled across the street. The Pontiac had pulled down in order to block it off. Then the driver got out and ran down the street. He ducked into an alley that the Pontiac had turned into. Officers under fire. Unit 1 is down. Suspect not in sight. Be aware of a red Ford Bronco. They are heavily armed. O'Quinlan yelled into the mic as Porter brought the car to a stop. The other units made quick twists and turns, and while one headed to the scene of the shooting, the other went after the Bronco. The Pontiac was found abandoned in the alley with new tire tracks leading away. The Bronco was on fire on a bridge about 3 kilometers down the road when it was found. Some witnesses gave statements, but other than vague descriptions the authorities already had, there was nothing. Porter had pulled up along beside the car with Hill and DuPont in it, realized what had happened, and pulled in front of the car with his in order to get it to come to a stop. What he found out is that they were using Devastator bullets, which are designed to explode on contact. The bulletproof vests Hill and DuPont were wearing couldn't do the job against the vicious weapons. Porter and O'Quinlan suffered ear damage, burns, and cuts from the shattering glass, and they each had tiny shrapnel from the projectiles in their neck and scalps. But the only reason they were alive is because the rounds did not directly contact with their bodies. Otherwise, they would be dead. 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 Otherwise, they too would be dead. The info about the meeting was planted information to get the team out in the open so they could be dealt with. It worked. You see, the reason the police didn't go after Alvarez right away after the shooting in Red Deer is this. They had the surveillance team in place. They had a plan to put men on the inside in order to get closer to finding out who was at the top. Alvarez is a big fish to catch, but more importantly, eventually he'll be swimming up beside the biggest fish. If they let him and his gang do their thing for a while, they might lead the team to the jackpot. But the mafia was 2 steps ahead at every turn. They had more people operating on the other side at higher levels. 1802, January 16, 1989, Grand Prairie, Alberta, Canada. Kevin is not enjoying 1989 and didn't at all enjoy 1988. He has no luck with girls, well, actually just not with the one he wants to have luck with. This shuts out any chance other girls might have from even getting his attention. He feels totally stressed at his day job and doesn't want to go back to work as a doorman in one of the local bars. However, every time he goes into one, He gets an officer to work for good money. He could use the extra money, but he's the type that has more pride than brains. Add this to the months of rehab and the training sessions in different locations across Western Canada that seemingly did nothing to move his life forward. And you have an unhappy young man. He's doing an auxiliary shift tonight from 7 till 7. The Metro unit is short 2 guys because of the flu, so he'll be in uniform and might even get his own cruiser. He's decided to go in an hour early to go over some new training material that Bob told him about. He'd also like to find out if there's been any word on mafia activity. Hi, Kevin, Joe said as he approached. Do you have a couple of minutes? Kevin, yeah, sure, Joe. Actually, I'm an hour early. Great. I've got some interesting news you might like to hear, Joe says as he opens the door to the room that's been converted into his office. Come on in and sit down. Want a coffee or something? Yes, please, Kevin replies as Joe pours a coffee. What do you take? Joe asks. Double, double, Kevin replies. Joe mixes the 2 cups and hands one over to Kevin. Hands one over to Kevin. Kevin! Wait a minute. Double, double, Kevin replies. Joe mixes the 2 cups and hands one over to Kevin. Line. So, what do you have? Good news or bad? Joe, well, I'll let you decide. Remember the highway shooting in Red Deer last November? Kevin. Yeah, Tony. One of the guys who made it through it had just been transferred there from the fort. Right, that one. Joe began. We've been keeping an eye on some guys in Vancouver ever since, right? Kevin. Right? Joe. They're in town. Here in GP? Kevin was a little taken back. These were serious players. I just had a phone call from the team we've had following them. Joe handed Kevin a file folder. I want you to be on the lookout for these guys tonight. You'll be doing walkthroughs, won't you? No, Kevin replied as he opened the folder and began looking at the photos in it. I don't walk into the bars in uniform unless I'm called in by a regular member. I only go in if I'm in plain clothes. I know this guy. Kevin pointed to the picture of Delfino, and I've had run-ins with both these guys. He pointed to Alvarez and Brock. You had a fight with them in Brandings about 2 years ago, correct? Joe asked. Man, did I ever, Kevin started. This Alvarez guy was giving a girl some hassle. The other guy, Brock, yeah, he was playing the tough guy, pushing her boyfriend back, so I stepped in. Then Kevin remembered something else. Hey, that was the night I met you. That was the night I met you. Skeleton. Gruesome skeleton. That was the night I met you. It's worse. They killed some of our guys this morning in Vancouver. Joe was shaking as he spoke. Look. It's worse. They killed some of our guys this morning in Vancouver, and Joe was shaking as he spoke. Look, they were seen in Dawson Creek 2 hours ago. We haven't been able to catch up to them, but we know they're there. The day watch has been on the lookout. I just got these pictures from the courier. Joe let Kevin look at his pictures. Joe let Kevin look at the pictures and waited for a reaction. Kevin, oh shit. Yeah, oh shit. Joe nodded his head and gave a look like he was saying, finally got it, kid. Bad news, Kevin said as he shook off the chill running down his back. This is the whole reason you're here. I mean, for all the work we've been doing and the guys at. He looked back to make sure the door was closed. Is there going to be trouble tonight? If not tonight, probably tomorrow, Joe said. Will you do me a favor and make 5 copies of this file? I'm going to call a meeting of the watch so each of the guys gets a basic rundown. Kevin nodded and headed out the door with the file. Where am I? I'm going to call a meeting of the watch so each of the guys get a basic rundown. Does my brain or my mouth work? It's the target lock. I can't where did I leave? Again, where did I leave off? I know some things they can do with these apps that they're using. Do I have a dial on this thing? Like, come on. Tune it. What is up? What's up with this radio station? Got a lot of static. Is there going to be trouble tonight? If not tonight, probably tomorrow, Joe said. Will you do me a favor and make 5 copies of this file? I'm going to call a meeting of the watch so each of the guys gets a basic rundown. Kevin nodded and headed out the door with the file. He was about to start making copies when the bell rang. The staff sergeant stood out in the middle of the hall and yelled for everyone to meet in the watchroom. Kevin grabbed everything and followed some of the constables in. We've got an alarm at the Scotia Bank in the Patterson Village Mall, Sergeant Andrews announced. One of the guys was on the way but got into a fender bender. Mark, we've just got a call. There's been an explosion at the Patterson Village Mall. The witness said a forklift just took off with the bank machine, Corporal Locke said as he leaned around the door jamb. Sergeant Andrews, I want the ERT suited up. Then he pointed at people as he looked around the room. Dave, Jerry, Joanne, and Cam. I want you to pair up and start running patterns with Bob and Greg. Kevin, you ride with Corporal Riley. Special Agent Myers, I'd like you to come with me. Yes, sir, Joe said. I was going to show some photos. I think they might be related to the case I'm working on. These guys are in town. Do you have them right here? The sergeant asked. Right here, sir, Kevin said as he put the folder on the table and spread the pictures out. Donna, the sergeant yelled to get the desk attendant's attention. Everyone will get at least a quick look at these before they leave. He ordered to the officers in the room. Sir, Donna stepped in the door. Sergeant, get copies of this file made for me, please. Joe, 5 should be about right, sir. Lloyd, Sarge, Greg just radioed in. He's under fire from a car that's hit a power pole down the street from the mall. This would prove to be a very busy night in the quiet prairie city and a cold one. Fargo. There is still about 4 to 6 inches of snow on the ground, but mainly in the fields and on the lawns. The sidewalks and streets are clear. There's still a hardened snowbank where the sun can't quite get to it, and where there's a berm from the snowplows, but most of the pavement is bare. Tonight it's cold early. It's a clear night and the stars are out, so there's a frost on everything right away. Any exposed grass is stiff and has a white sheen of crystals across it. This makes it easy to follow tracks made by anyone or anything. 1933, January 16, 1989. I don't know. Grand Prairie, Alberta, Canada. 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 There's There's more footprints going across the schoolyard, Constable Lloyd says to Bob. This is Riley to Unit B82. 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 Greg, are you far from Parkside Elementary? Bob announces into his radio. Greg, this is B82. About a block, Bob. You want me over there? Hashtag digital hawk. Very nice. A droopy dog. Droopy dog. Hmm. 1933. 1933, January 16, 1989, Grand Prairie, Alberta, Canada. There's more footprints going across the schoolyard, Constable Lloyd says to Bob. This is Riley to Unit B82. Greg, are you far from Parkside Elementary? Bob announces into his radio. Greg, this is B82, about a block, Bob. You want me over there? Yes, Bob replied. We found tracks leading from the corner of Resources and 88th across the grounds towards the school. I'm coming up 91A Avenue. The school now, Greg began. I have to pull over. A bullet must have put a slow leak in my rad because I smell antifreeze. Rewind. I'm coming up 91A Avenue to school now. He didn't say it like that, I'm sure. Greg began. I have to pull over. A bullet must have put a slow leak in my rad because I can smell antifreeze, and it's starting to heat up. There's Greg now. Bob could see the cruiser pulled into the school parking lot and stop. Kevin head right across the lawn with the blackout switch on. Bob opened the passenger's window and grabbed the shotgun. Then he took out his maglite and held it up against the pump stock so he could hold and operate both if he had to. Kevin pulled out his flashlight and put it between his legs so it would be easy to grab. Then he took his service revolver and held it out the window with his left hand. He let the cruiser creep across the lawn in low gear as they searched the darkness for movement. The tires crunched through the hardened snow, and Kevin kept an eye out for problem spots. WRX. For problem spots, where am I? Then Bob sat up on the sill of the door, holding on with the light bar. Greg had stepped away from his car, moving over to the corner of the parking lot. He was standing behind a power pole, peeking around the edge. He had already exchanged it is turned up heat. Gunfire tonight with the suspect and dehydration. Coffee. Maybe you should add water to the coffee. Just make it super, super coffee with super water. I'd like my coffee in a pill form, a very dense pill that I can drop into a full glass of water. I don't understand science. This is supposed to be a simple reading. Suddenly, there was movement from the bushes at the far side of the parking lot, closest to the playground equipment. I know. I needed blood sugar. Glucose of some kind. Something, just something. Fuel? I digress. This is not fuel. It kind of is. It's kind of like Supreme. Burns fast. Suddenly, there was movement from the bushes at the far side of the parking lot, closest to the playground equipment. A cat ran out from behind one of the slides. Just a cat, but wait, what startled it? Why did it stop and look back intently at the area? Someone was. All right, well, this says definitely. I don't know how to spell either. Someone was definitely there. Turn towards that jungle gym, Bob said as he momentarily ducked his head into the cab. When I tap on the roof, I want you to turn on the headlights. Greg was calling for support to back them up and to block off intersections, if need be. All of a sudden, an object was tossed towards Greg from behind one of the big plastic tunnels. It landed 20 feet from the edge of the building, which was about halfway between the suspect and the officer. Greg heard it crunch in the snow a few feet away from him and moved close, the huge power pole he was using as cover, too. Bob hammered on the roof and did a roll out the car onto his back and jumped up behind the rear fender. Hold up here and get out behind your door, he told Kevin as the lights came on, illuminating the area. Boom! The grenade went off, sending dirt, rocks, snow, and dust flying. Greg jumped quickly against the pole and was shielded from the debris. Bob and Kevin ducked behind their automotive shield. And then the shooting started. Tap, tap, tap. Oh, tap, tap, tap. Towards the car. Tap, tap, tap. Towards Greg. Boom! From the shotgun. Pow, pow from Kevin's revolver. Greg made a run for the corner of the building. Tap, 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 tap. A trail of bullets kicked up the snow besides and behind him. Boom, pow, pow, boom, tap, 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 tap. Each shot was followed by a thud, or crack, or slap, or a pa-ting. The shots echo again and again. The policemen had to be careful to hit what they were aiming at. This was a residential area, and they didn't need any innocent bystanders hurt or killed. He's using a small caliber submachine gun. It sounds like a 9mm, Bob commented as an eerie silence took over the night. I don't care what it is. I just wish he would stop using it, Kevin said excitedly. He's starting a He's starting a snowmobile or a motorbike or something, Kevin yelled as he jumped into the driver's seat. He looked quickly at the gauges to make sure everything was okay and then revved the engine a couple times. The car seemed okay. The only visible damage was a bullet hole in the very top right corner of the windshield, and one of the headlights was busted. Bob tapped on the hood after checking the front of the car for damage and pointed for Kevin to get down as much as he could and start towards the playground area. Then a loud bark of a small engine ripped through the cold winter air. Its mufflerless twang as sharp as the night. A powerful dirt bike tore out across the field, weaving and turning to avoid gunfire. There was none. I can't shoot for all the houses. Bob yells as he gets in the cruiser. Kevin puts in gear and roars after the speeding assailant. Where the hell did the fucking bike come from? He could have just stolen it from one of the yards, Bob said. Then onto the radio. B88 Riley here, in pursuit of suspect on a Yamaha Enduro motorcycle. Greg is still at the school, and there might still be someone there to worry about. We're turning up 56th Avenue going north. Dave, this is A60. We're backing up, Greg. Watch out for the snow by the curb. Bob says as Kevin steers after the fleeing cyclist. It doesn't look like it'll be too deep over here by the soccer posts. Kevin says as he turns to head towards the street on an angle. The speeding car breaks through the crusty snowbank. An approaching motorist swerves to avoid the exiting motorcycle and then comes to an abrupt stop, just as the driver sees the bright flashing lights of the cruiser appear. Out of the blast of snow, Kevin zigs and zags to get around the other car. The police car starts to skid sideways on the frosty pavement as Kevin accelerates to catch the bike. A bike on a frosty pavement? What kind of tires he's got on there? Crystal blue persuasion. Yeah. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Where am I? Damn it. I need like post-it notes on my screen. I need those little sticky stickies. Sticky stickies. Sticky icky stickies. Sticky tickies. I want speeding tickets to be like fun stickers. Like, sorry, not sorry, but like, hey, it costs this much. With a cool picture or something and it keeps changing. Vibe them higher, vibe higher. Hashtag vibe higher. Something fun. Just get different pads, like rainbow pad or some flower stuff. I don't know. Where the hell am I? Yeah, it was just getting good. I want to know how this motorcycle be on icy pavements, trying to race around like a ninja. Where the hell am I? Where the fuck did I go? Excuse my French. I was spending too much time at the Eiffel Tower. Talking to strangers. This is impossible. I have no reference point. I don't know like where I was in the 4x4. Where the fuck is this? Yo, motorcycle, jump out of this page. Come on. Motorcycle racing ninja, the coolest freaking part. Where the hell are you? Oh my fuck, is there anyone exiting motorcycle speeding, blah, blah, blah. Watch out for fucking snow. Watch out for the fucking snow by the curb, Bob says as Kevin steers after the fleeing cyclist. Oh, cyclist? Are you talking about a bicyclist? Still, what has he got? It doesn't look like it'll be too deep over here by the soccer posts, Kevin says as he turns. Dehydration and caffeine. What a great mix in technology, just like distracting you consistently, ubiquitously, ever present. It's its job, I guess. I digress. I guess that's the whole point. Breathe. It doesn't look like it'll be too deep over here by the soccer posts. It's hot. Kevin says, I'm okay, but it's hot. Kevin says as he turns to head towards the street on an angle. How long is your fuse? Make it longer. Breathe. Slow down. Slow down. Yes, sir. Breathe. Yes, sir. Don't cry. Sometimes you can. It's okay. It's healthy. But now, right now, you're busy and having fun. Remember? Remember? Don't cry. Not right now. You're busy. Remember? I'm at work. What is this? Dave, this is A60. We're backing up, Greg. Look at this. Look at this. It's hot, and my hands are going like this. All this blood. I'm talking. Watch out for snow by the curb, Bob says as he steers after the fleeing cyclist. It doesn't look like it'll be too deep over here by the soccer posts. Don't cry. There's no crying in baseball. Till my third eye hurts. Busy. Overclocked. Any wheels of any kind. The wind, sun, and the rain. The sun and the rain, don't fear the reaper. Oh my god. Oh my god. Okay, distracted. Focus. That's my only problem. Can't focus. At the moment. This is impossible. Reading is very difficult. I hate to break it to you. And I'm having so much fun trying to read. It doesn't look like it'll be too deep over here by the soccer posts, Kevin says as he turns. It doesn't look like it'll be too deep over here by the soccer posts, Kevin says as he heads. Oh my god. It doesn't look like it'll be too deep over here by the soccer posts, Kevin says as he turns to head towards the street on an angle. The speeding car breaks through the crusty snow bank. Approaching motorist swerves to avoid the exiting motorcycle and then comes to an abrupt stop. Just as the driver sees the bright flashing lights of the cruiser appear out of the blast of snow, Kevin zigs and zags to get around the other car. The police car starts to skid sideways on the frosty pavement as Kevin accelerates to catch the bike. The suspect on the bike is also, I want to learn sign language so bad. The suspect on the bike is also having a tough time navigating on the winter surfaces. Even worse, the chase has surpassed the 50 miles an hour mark down the narrow residential streets. Now a T intersection is coming up fast. Bob is exchanging information and instructions with dispatch and the other units. We're coming down 88th Avenue to 99th Street A43 to dispatch. So much energy. I have to go fast. I have to go fast. It is the only thing on this planet that I most need to do. It's for health reasons. Now a T intersection is coming up fast. Bob is exchanging information and instructions with dispatch and the other units. It could be a viewing angle of a screen. It's highly distracting, and the flicker and frequency rates of the screen. And maybe it's this night mode that I'm not appreciating at the moment. And just everything is a powder keg. The fuck do you call it? On a stick of TNT dynamite. The fucking fuse. When you buy a new stick of dynamite, it's like microscopic. It's like this. You go, but you can't even light it. It doesn't even have a chance to light it. It just blows up your hand. Can you read? Now a T intersection is coming up fast. Bob is exchanging information and instructions with I am starving. With dispatch, I had one banana. And the other units. We're coming down 88th and Avenue to 99th Street. A43 to dispatch. The sergeant started. I've just found the forklift about 2 blocks from the bank. Blood sugar, glucose systems going down. Feed, fuel, gasoline. Looks like they loaded the machine onto a truck of some kind, and natural light is now changing my screen mode. Feels better. Oh my god, I'm terrible at reading. A43 to dispatch. The sergeant started. I've just found the forklift about 2 blocks from the bank. Looks like they loaded the machine onto a truck of some kind and headed south on Resources Road. Contact the county patrol and see if they have a unit or two out by the industrial park. The bike took as quick of a left as possible. Screen shutting down too quickly is hyper annoying, and I don't want to do it right now. Too many jobs to do with technology. Homework, 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 homework. Distract, 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 flow, even flow. The bike took as quick of a left as possible in the conditions. Just as Kevin was pulling up to the stop sign, Joan and Cam went by after the bike, which was turning down a grass alley. Grass alleys are blocked with pipe barriers, but one of the yards at the corner doesn't have a fence. Joan cranks on the wheel and swings the big Impala through the yard, glances off a hedge on the opposite side, and heads down the alley. Take a right at 85th. I need a microphone. Take a right at 85th. This next street, Kevin. Bob points and says, B82 to dispatch. We need a 1052 to Xavier Elementary. Dave's voice crackles over the radio. Suspect down with several wounds. Looks like a shotgun blast. I guess your night just got a lot longer. Hey, Bob, Kevin said in an empathic way. Both men know what it's like to learn the results of doing the most dreaded part of the job. Bob swallows and nods. Then, as he begins to reload the shotgun, says, "There's still 9 long hours left until sunrise. All units in the downtown area, the dispatchers, I can have conversations while I'm trying to read thoughts, like mental notes, and it's really distracting. I also like to get to the end of chapters before I'm even started. The checkered flag, so I talk fast. But that ends up slow because crashing all over the page. And I don't like wasting time. And I like things to be perfect. Suspect down with several wounds, looks like a shotgun blast. Seems like such a silly tool. It's so messy. It's just like, why do you use that? Like, why would you use it? I guess your night just got a lot longer. Hey, Bob, Kevin said in an well, all right, you know what? All right, I give up. I am going. No, that's how that tension squeeze right out of my friggin' hand. What I keep hearing trending conversations. It's so tight. It's like a frog's asshole. Only a dog in here. Yeah, the tension is thick. Turn up the heat. Look at these things. Look like a freaking forest here. I used to look like this when I was younger, and now I guess I'm like 17 again. I wanted to. Yeah, man. It's retarded. I don't. That's insanity. That's insanity. It's ridiculous. You don't need that shit. What am I doing? How do you do things? How do you do stuff? I don't know how to do stuff. Yeah, that's trademarked. Is that trademarked? Yo, not yet. It costs money to do that. It's annoying. I think I trademarked hashtag the Supreme Study, but I'm not sure. I know I gave somebody money, and I got it. I wanted a plaque of it. I don't know if I completed it. If it does cost like $1,000+ then that's insanity. Well, at the time, how do you do things? What was I doing? Like screen stuff. Stop screen. Whatever. I give up. I want to read. I like to read. I like reading. How do you do this? How do you read forever? It's just like a move, like an audio book. How can I be perfect? How am I? A lot of insects and stuff hanging out. Did I lose the page again? Oh my mother flower, mother nature's. All right, I see Xavier. All right, rewind, I guess, because this is insane. I have to watch this stuff at double the speed later to see if it can all like blend. That's why I do this. It's just for me. B82 to dispatch. I'm learning how to read and stuff and learning stuff. We needed 10. That wasn't part of the book. Whatever this is. Officially called. The Truth and the Circle Around It by K.G.SCOTT, page 133. Trying to continue. Dave's voice crackles over the radio. Suspect down with several wounds. It's really hard to use your mouth. Looks like a shotgun blast. I guess your night just got a lot longer. Hey, Bob, Kevin said in an empathic way. Both men know what it's like to learn the results of doing the most dreaded part of the job. Bob, 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 I need horse blinders. Bob. Where are you, Bob? Not that Bob, this Bob. Bob swallows and nods. Then, as he begins to reload the shotgun, says, "There's still, I take in too much information and it's really distracting. There's still 9 long hours left and I need a freaking bubble. I need to live in a bubble. There's still 9 long hours left until sunrise. All units in the downtown area." The dispatcher's voice seemed to leave a ring behind it as Donna made the announcement. "Alarm in progress at the Royal Bank. Available units respond. B8 responding. Approximate response time is 2 minutes. I'm at the hospital. C64 responding. Approximate response time is 1 minute. Emergency response team, hold at present location until further notice," the sergeant ordered. "Turn right, Kevin," Bob said. "That bike should be coming out here by the hydrant." Right then, the suspect ran across the street, turning back to fire as the rays of the headlights behind him drop low when the cruiser comes to a quick stop. Kevin turns and hits the brakes, and the car gently spins to a stop just shy of the opening to the alley. "Cam, he could have just stolen it from one of the yards," Bob said. Then on the radio, "B88 Riley here in pursuit of suspect on a Yamaha Enduro motorcycle. Greg is still at the school and there might still be someone there to worry about. We're turning up 56th Avenue going north, Dave. This is A60. We're backing up, Greg. Watch out for the snow by the curb," Bob says as Kevin steers after the fleeing cyclist. "It doesn't look like it'll be too deep over here by the soccer posts," Kevin says as he turns to head towards the street on it. Oh my God. Right then, the suspect ran across the street, turning back to fire as the rays of the headlights behind him drop low when the cruiser comes to a quick stop. Kevin turns and hits the brakes, and the car gently spins to a stop just shy of the opening to the alley. Cam is calling in as Bob and Kevin get out and run up the snowbank to the corner of the fence. "Officer down, 1052 to the service alley off 99B Street," Cam's voice says over the radio. Kevin opens his revolver and replaces the empty rounds. For the past year, the RCMP has been running a test program allowing officers to use pre-approved, non-issued handguns on a test bias basis. All members will send in reports to their superiors, which will go all the way to the chain, to the committee who is formed to choose distraction, to choose the new weapon, to replace the old, outdated 38 specials. Kevin is carrying a 357 Magnum Colt Python. Bob looks back at Cam and Joanne. The windshield is riddled with holes and the antifreeze is steaming out in a steady hiss. "Who's hurt?" Kevin asks loudly. "Joan took one in the arm," Cam says as he aims his maglite and shotgun into the darkness where the suspect has disappeared. The gunman had entered a long paved alley. There were plenty of places to hide, and only a couple streetlights shed any light on the area. There were at least a dozen dogs barking within the rows of yards on each side. Backyard and porch lights were coming on in the houses, and that was a bad thing. "Don't use your flashlight unless you absolutely have to," Bob tells Kevin. When you do become an easy target, remember? When you do, you become an easy target, remember? Got it, Corporal, Kevin answers. Crisscross pattern, or up each, or one each up the sides. Up the sides, you take the right, Bob orders. Two other units pull up and officers spread out. One pair comes over the back up, over to back up Bob and Kevin, while another runs up the street so they can advance on the opposite side of the houses from the alley. An ambulance is turning to come down 85th Avenue. Cam has already begun to help Joan down to that end of the street. The radio is the busiest it's ever been. Orders, announcements, and requests are likely a steady stream of 10 codes and excited chatter. Greg has reported that the downed suspect at the school is DOA. The two officers responding to the bank alarm downstairs report that the crime was complete before the alarm ever went off. The county police have called to update the search for the truck with a bank machine. In between everything is the voice of Sergeant Andrews, trying to coordinate the movements. Kevin, Bob, and the other two officers began to make their way up the alley. They can't just walk out. They have to be cautious and quick. A cruiser has blocked off the other end of the alley. It intersects with Claremont Road, which is the main road that runs all the way down through the city from north to south. The left button of Kevin's uniform hat digs into the side of his head above the ear. As the hat flies off, ow, almost fell through the window. My father's eyes. As the hat flies off, bang! It echoes down from the other side of the alley. Kevin jerks, ducks, and rolls out into the middle of the alley from the momentum. The suspect is far enough down the alley for the bullet to just slightly beat the sound, actually about 55 yards, but close enough to make an accurate shot when the mini assault rifle being used is set on semi-auto. Two more shots follow and narrowly miss the downed cop, marking the buzzing sound, similar to what a zipper on a jacket sounds like when you pull it up really fast. Then crackling loudly as they bound off the pavement just away from the right of Kevin's head. But the muzzle flash gives away the hiding spot, and deep in the darkness, Kevin can see the outline of a body tucked against a fence and a garbage stand. Lying on his back, he cocks the hammer, quickly lines up the sights with the image, and squeezes the trigger. Perfection at work. And squeezes the trigger. I bet this so scary. Yo, pack it down, birds. Yeah, what are you talking about? At least talk with me. Come over here. I've been inviting you inside. Come inside. I got stuff for you. What do you eat? What do you drink? You want coffee? Pow! Then silence creeps quickly in as the echoes fade into the night. Flashlight beams sweep the alley. The searches of the cruisers at each end of the alley come on. There are voices and commotion and footsteps. As Kevin feels a pair of hands grip his jacket on the shoulders and pull, he passes out. By the next morning, the commotion is over, but the news media has let the outside world in the available details. 2 robberies, 2 suspects dead, 2 million stolen. 2 officers in hospital, no arrests. Brock and Delfino would end up walking out of the Royal Bank with almost $2 million. With almost $2 million. With almost $2 million. So many distractions. With almost $2 million. It's always good to hit a bank a couple days before a pay weekend. The bank machine used as a distraction only had 11,000 left in it, and two of that burnt when they cut it open with a torch. You see, locals had been brought in to pull this one, so the big job would have less interference. The connection to Alvarez would have never been made if the police were completely kept away. The suspect killed in the schoolyard was one of the locals, but the one that shot it out with Kevin and lost was known to have worked with Alvarez before. 0903 January 17, 1989, RCMP Detachment Grand Prairie, Alberta, Canada. Fiona Bearchild, age 23, four priors known to have mafia connections. She's one of the ones arrested in that raid over on 88th last July. The sergeant read from the file. So she wasn't far from home, Bob said. Sergeant. Last known address was, yeah, same house. We passed right by that place chasing her, Bob said as he stood up with a look of realization. Lloyd, she might have been running for home. Joe, or running away from home. If she was so close, why didn't she go there to hide? Donna walked up and spoke to the sergeant. Mark, Dr. Langevin is on the phone for you. It sounds like good news. The sergeant went over to the desk in the corner of the watchroom and took the call while the others continued the conversation. Dave, yeah, you're right. She could have been in the house. Too many reflections. She could have been in the house and hiding before we even got to the school. Maybe, Jerry said. But if I thought I might lead the police right to the door, I wouldn't go near the house. I'd do like what? I'd do like she did. I'd do like she did and try to find another place to go. That bike was taken from a yard right beside the school, right? Joe asked. Right beside it, Bob answered. How far was that shot the kid made down the alley, Joe asked. I placed it off at roughly around 55 yards. I thought I read this. Darrell answered. He was one of the other officers who arrived on scene the night before. Over 50 yards with a handgun? Joe shook his head in amazement. That's normal for him, even in a pinch like that one, Lloyd answered. Yo, perfection, shut up. Yo, perfection. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I love progress. It's just that my brain don't work. It's just that my brain don't work. I'm just a stupid cop. I'm not a cop. Over 50 yards with a handgun? Joe shook his head in amazement. Wow. That's normal for him, even in a pinch like that one, Lloyd answered. I've been out to the range with him a few times, and I've seen him use that fucking cannon at the rifle range and be damned accurate at even the 100 mark. Fuck off, Joe said sarcastically. No, you fuck off. I've been there to. I was just having so much fun saying, no, you fuck off. And then I couldn't read the next one. No, you fuck off. See angels. No, you fuck off. Fuck off, Joe said sarcastically. No, you fuck off. Fuck off, Joe said sarcastically. Fuck off, Joe said sarcastically. No, you fuck off. I've been there to see it too. 100 yards with a 357 Python. Dave said abruptly. Yeah, I wouldn't have believed it myself if I hadn't been there too. Pop chuckled. There isn't anyone here who can shoot like that kid. That little prick ain't natural. Thanks, doctor. I'll be down right away. That little prick ain't natural. Thanks, doctor. I'll be down right away, the sergeant said, and then hung up the phone. As he turned to cross the room, all eyes and ears were waiting for the news. Joan is going to be needing more surgery. They're going to fly her out to Edmonton in an hour. Kevin woke up about 10 minutes ago, the sergeant, and started to chuckle. He's really pissed off. I guess he almost took one of the orderlies' heads right off when he came to. Typically, Kevin, Typical Kevin reaction, Bob said. Sergeant, he's got a concussion, 3 stitches on his head and 3 on his ear. That bullet was only half an inch away from blowing the side of his head off. Good fucking thing it didn't, Bob roared. Then he laughed. The little bastard would have kicked the shit out of me before he died. Are you going are you going there right now? Joe asked. Yes, and I'd like everyone to come along. You're all done with your shift now, and I you're all done your shift now, and I think both of them need the support. Plus, Cam has been there all night with Joan's husband and kids, the sergeant announced. Then everyone put on their coats and headed for the hospital. Joan eventually came out okay. The bone had been shattered so badly that when they were done, her arm was half metal. Half metal. Yeah, I was going shopping. Little tykes. Then everyone put on their coats and headed for the hospital. Joan eventually came out okay. The bone had been shattered so badly that when they were done, her arm was half metal, but she was able to go back to work later in the year. I squeezed this out of my hand, so I popped it out of my hand earlier. They were done. Her arm was half metal. Oh, I get it. I get it now. I thought she was a robot. I get it now because there's so many bullet things, fragments, and stuff. Ah, crap. There was my banana on. I don't know. All right, where is that? It's not backwards. I forgot. It's also causing some confusion. Then everyone put up. Oh my god, everything is like weird. Then everyone put on. Maybe I can make it bigger. Maybe I don't have superhuman eyes. Then everyone put on their coats and headed for the hospital. I need to go into the ocean now. I have to go fast and then jump into the ocean. It's a mission. A solo mission. Joan eventually came out okay. The bone had been shattered so badly. Gotta work up a sweat first. That should be easy, hopefully. And that when they were done, her arm was half metal. But she was able to go. But she was able to go back to work later in the year. Can I relax? Kevin's emotional scars were deeper than his stitched ones. This was the second time in 5 months he had shot someone. He was getting sour of it and didn't work for 3 months. 0950, January 17, 1989, Safe House, Grand Prairie, Alberta, Canada. Come on, Antonio, try to calm down, Brock said as he circled the room to avoid the objects Alvarez was throwing in rage. I want to know exactly whom I'm going to kill next. I want to know which dirty cop murdered my beloved Fiona. Alvarez was now hunched over and moving like a mountain cat preparing to strike. We'll find out. Your brother will be over later. He'll have all the details, like usual, Brock said. My brother. Alvarez grabbed Brock by the collar and slammed him up against the wall. Might be the one I have to kill. What should we do while we're waiting? Delfino asked. Page 139 for reference. Be ready to leave in a hurry, Alvarez said as he pushed Brock into the wall again. Henderson, place a call to the person who is close to me. Later that day, Alvarez did meet with his brother, a policeman who was on duty the night before. Burger, boardwalk, beach, boardwalk, burger, water, ocean, be ocean, be the ocean. Henderson, please place a call. Not please. Didn't order. Henderson, place a call to the person who is close to me. Later that day, Alvarez did meet with his brother. Did I read this? Line. Bueller. I gotta watch that movie. I don't know if I've ever watched it. Bueller. I mean, I know fragments of it. Bueller. Later that day, Alvarez did meet with his brother, a policeman who was on duty the night before. When he found out, this light, I need horse blinders. When he found out the same person who had shot Fiona was the same one who had beaten him and Brock up in the bar a couple of years ago, he decided he wouldn't kill him. Let's go fast. Let's go faster forever, faster forever, faster forever, faster, forever, faster forever, faster forever, faster forever, faster forever. Your mouth is gonna work and your brain's gonna be smooth. I mean, it has mind tunnels in it, but I think a smooth brain is an insult. I heard that recently, and I didn't get it until I was like, what? Where the hell am I? Line. I want to go fast, remember? All right. Come on. Later that day, Alvarez did meet with his brother, a policeman who was on duty the night before. Then he found out the same person who had shot Fiona was the same one who had beaten him and Brock up in the bar a couple of years ago. He decided he wouldn't kill him. He decided he wanted to make his life so hard he would kill himself. Alvarez used his influence to get Kevin fired from jobs, had his things stolen from his home and car, and if he liked to fight and he liked to fight good from his home and car, and he liked to fight good. He would fight a lot against guys who could really do damage. In the next year, Kevin would be stabbed twice, have hundreds of dollars of personal things go missing, and be hit by all sorts of flying objects in bar fights. He once had gone back to the bars. Where in the fuck am I? Where is this? Come on! I literally have my finger on it. Are you kidding me? I literally have my finger on it. I can't read. Come on. freaking motherfucking hot. Turn up the heat. No shit. It makes your brain not work. It makes you fucking weird. Nothing's working here. Come on. Where the fuck am I? No reference. Don't remember. Where the fuck is it? I'm tired of backing up. I'm tired of rewinding. This fucking screen is like not healthy to be looking into. Where the fuck am I? Where the fuck am I? Okay, I guess I'll rewind. Later that day, Alvarez did meet with his brother, a policeman who was on duty the night before. When he found out the same person who had shot Fiona was the same one who had beaten him and Brock up in the bar a couple years ago, he decided he wouldn't kill him. Food, water, shelter. He decided he wanted to make his life so hard he would kill himself. Alvarez used his influence to get Kevin fired from jobs, have his things stolen from his home and car, and if he liked to fight, good. He would fight a lot against guys who could really do damage. In the next year, Kevin would be stabbed twice, have hundreds of dollars of personal things go missing, and be hit by all sorts of flying objects in bar fights. Once he had gone back to work in the bars, Alvarez made sure he stayed there. This could be easy. It's like blood is pulsing, like wants to escape my skin. Tension. And I lost again. I lost it again. I lost it again. I'm closer because I have my finger here. So if he likes to fight, he would fight a lot against guys who could really do damage. In the next year, Kevin would be stabbed twice, have hundreds of dollars of personal things go missing, and be hit by all sorts of flying objects in bar fights. Once he had gone back to work in the bars, Alvarez made sure he stayed there. This way, he could easily send more and more people after him. But to Alvarez's dismay, Kevin kept coming out on top of everything that was thrown at him. After a while, Alvarez had to give up on his little project, even though he was a freelancer. The mafia had enough say to make him stop. To them, this was not a battle worth fighting. Just kill him and get it over with. Plus, Antonio's brother stepped in and challenged Alvarez. So Alvarez stopped for a while, but he decided when he got the chance he would finish it. 11:05 October 22, 1989, Calgary, Alberta, Canada. Thomas Visconti is not what you picture as a mafia family boss. Not in slightest little bit. In fact, the only things that make it obvious are the facts that he moves with an entourage. He has very he has a very Italian name that everyone kisses his ass. Everyone except law enforcement types, and Antonio Alvarez is not disrespect or that Alvarez thinks he is at all equal to someone like Visconti. It's just that Antonio knows that Thomas likes him and likes the work he does. Also, that Antonio knows how often Visconti uses him to threaten his own people. So he can get away with things just because Thomas expects Alvarez to put on a show for him. Visconti lives in a small subdivision in a new part of Calgary. His house is large but not a mansion. It is scheduled but not alone. It is secluded but not alone. And like many things about him, it just doesn't fit the image most people would have in their minds. He is a man who wears very good clothing, but he looks like a suburban grandfather, not a multi-millionaire crime boss. And to add this deception further, neither of his two children is married, so there are no grandchildren. Today, he is sitting in his huge office chair. The fire in the hearth in the middle of the room is warming the crispness of the skylights and picture windows that view out across towards the mountains, which can be seen in the distance. The cold of winter and the warmth of the fire meet at the exact place where he sits and sniffs his glass of hot brandy. His oldest son, Thomas Jr., has gone downstairs to greet the arriving guest, while his daughter, Linda, stands at the window looking down at the proceedings below. Ask him for his old Cadillac. He just bought a new one, Henderson said as he pulled the door open for Antonio. 141 ref. Alvarez stepped out like a Hollywood star at the Oscars. I'll let him offer it first. Balancing act, holding 1,000 plates on sticks. I'll let him offer it first, he said as he nodded acknowledgement to Thomas Jr., who was there to meet him. Then I'll tell him I want it painted. Then he gestured eloquently to Thomas Jr. to lead the way. Henderson closed the door and went around to move the car to the parking lot as the two men walked up the steps to the house. Henderson, Thomas Jr. said forcefully, let Jimmy move the car for you. My father wants you there as well. He turned back to walk in the house, pausing for a brief second to look Alvarez sternly in the eyes with a serious scowl, then waited for Henderson to begin to follow as they all proceeded towards the house. They made their way upstairs after a thorough search and removal of all weapons, then walked through the open door of the office. Antonio and Frederick, the old man, is the only person alive who uses Henderson's first name. Welcome, welcome. Come sit with me and enjoy a glass of this wonderful brandy you sent me for Christmas. Then Visconti gestures to the bodyguards to leave and begin to pour the brandy into the 4 empty glasses on the tray table beside the fireplace. Thank you, Thomas, Alvarez says as he returns to smile. Thomas Sr., thank you indeed, Henderson replied as he exchanged a smile with Linda. Then he put his hand on Thomas Jr.'s shoulder as he accepted the glass of brandy from Visconti Sr. and offered an accepting smile to the young man in the hopes of breaking the tension. Yes, of course, the younger Thomas said as he smiled largely in return, knowing full well that Henderson was a good person and a loyal soldier. Ah, yes, the old man said with pleasure as he took a sip of his drink now that he had seated himself comfortably back down in his favorite chair. Frederick, I expect a lot of you in the coming years. Antonio and Henderson stopped and stared in unison at the realization of the sentence. You are You are the rock that holds solid, and you keep Antonio at a level I can tolerate. Thomas Sr. continued as he looked to Alvarez directly in the eyes. I hear things that make me happy, and I hear things I don't like as much. The two men took sips simultaneously from their sifters and sat at opposite ends of the chairs, almost like a mirror image to each other. I pay you well, and you always do exactly as I ask. I never question your methods because they produce results. However, then he looks over to his son. We wish more of our people were as adaptable as your group. You are independent of our main organization, and we wish we could keep it that way. The junior Visconti said with a positive tone. 143. 143. End in sight. 143. 143. With a positive tone. The junior Visconti said with a positive tone. End in sight. Light at the end. Light at the end. Light at the end. Light at the end. Yes, but these bar fights and all these little side jobs and the dealings with this young cop in Alberta. I do not like to hear these things, the old man said with a scowl. I want you to tone things down. And Frederick, I expect you to make sure of this. He looked directly at Henderson as he leaned forward to receive an unexpected answer. Two friend flies. Henderson cleared his throat. Of course, I will do what is expected of me, Mr. Visconti, but I must answer to Antonio. Well, yes, I understand this, but from now on, he will also answer to you, Thomas said firmly. From now on, you are not independent. I will pay you more than I have been, and you will be part of our family. If not, you will be on your own, Linda said firmly as she sat straight as an arrow in her chair near the middle of the room. I have met this Shears fellow. He gave Thomas Jr. and his men a lesson in underestimation. He is either nothing and you will never go near him again, or he is a problem and you will get rid of him, the old man said. Personally, I prefer you leave him alone. He will never amount to anything. Antonio sat and said nothing. He wasn't letting any emotion show or gesturing or posturing in any way that would give away his thoughts. He finished his brandy and set the sifter down on the coffee table, then sat back into the chair and clasped his hands, holding the index fingers tightly against his lips. Henderson was not as poised. What would be expected specifically of me if Antonio does agree to your terms? Henderson asked. You realize fucking cards. The end is in sight. It was. I will pay you more than I have been, and you will be part of our family. If not, you will be on your own, Linda said firmly, as she sat straight as an arrow in her chair near the middle of the room. I have met this Shears fellow. I have met. I have met this Shears fellow. He gave Thomas Jr. and his men a lesson in underestimation. He is either nothing and you will never go near him again, or he is a problem and you will get rid of him, the old man said. Personally, I prefer you leave him alone. He will never amount to anything. Antonio sat and said nothing. He wasn't letting any emotion show or gesturing or posturing in any way that would give away his thoughts. He finished his brandy and set the sifter down on the coffee table, then sat back into the chair and clasped his hands. Hold- holding the index fingers together against his lips. Henderson was not as poised. What would be expected specifically of me if Antonio does agree to your terms? Henderson asked. You realize I must be sure of where I stand, Antonio started. I thought we had an understanding, Thomas. All of a sudden, you dictate how I am to do business and live my life. I do not see where I have drawn unwanted attention to you or your associates. My people have not stepped out of line. I will give you a day to decide, Thomas Jr. announced. I do not answer to you, young man. Not unless I decide to join your father and he instructs me to do so. Alvarez was letting some disgust show. When I make my decision, I will meet your father and I will tell him. Then he turned to face the elder Thomas. Do you wish for a hasty decision, or may I take a few days? You have until tomorrow night, Thomas Sr. answered. I have big plans for you, if you accept, but if you do not accept and get in my way, then I also have big plans for you. I don't need until tomorrow to decide, Antonio began. I will join you, but my organization continues on exactly as it is. I will leave the rotten little bastard alone, and if any one of your people joins me, I will be in charge. Agreed. Thomas Sr. responded excitedly, yes, and stood up to pour another round of drinks. I enjoy these get I enjoy these I enjoy these get-togethers. Now that you work directly for my son and I look forward to more of them. As I do. As I do. As do I, Alvarez said, looking over to gesture a toast to Thomas Jr. Oh my god. Yow! Yow! As do I. Alvarez said, looking over to gesture a toast to Thomas Jr. I will take an interest in this Shears fool, Linda said. Perhaps I can persuade him to come work for us. No, Thomas Sr. shouted. No one will do anything to him. Father, what is your interest in him? Thomas Jr. was confused. Thomas Jr. was confused. He came up in my last card reading, the old man spoke philosophically. He cannot be defeated, but he can be ignored. Yeah, that sounds like me. We must be on our way. And we need a new car, Antonio began. We've had an interesting day and need to get to Vancouver. Yes, I thought that was you when I heard the news report. Thomas Sr., too much intels. Thomas Sr. chuckled. Get on with it then. We will talk again soon. We will talk again soon. The RCMP and FBI would spend the rest of the year investigating leads, doing searches, and making minor arrests, but they wouldn't catch up to their main targets. Alvarez would continue to make big hits, and his team would grow. They would rob more banks, wreck more lives, and become more ferocious. The authorities had not made the connection of the bank robberies to the Alvarez gang. They were chasing Antonio and his group on evidence gathered at murder scenes. The last few months of the year involved incidents in larger cities all over North America. So the task force wasn't working as closely with all aspects of each police force as they were that night in the small city of Grand Prairie. Alvarez and his gang of killers and thieves were getting brash more and more each time they committed a crime. They had turned up the heat on an already scorching system of events. Next chapter, read way later. Chapter 9, The Circle Begins. Stay tuned. Not now. Hit beach, burgers, boardwalk, movement, wheels of any and all kinds. Wind, sun, wind, the sun, and the rain. And Charlie's Angels. Smile, mother flower, mother natures. I'm Doug, and I'm the happiest guy that I know. Up and down sometimes. All the time. That's what we do. It's what we do. We're human.